All right, wrestling fans. Kurt Clapier here with HighSchoolWrestlingMatches.com. We're in for a treat tonight. My buddy AJ, who I actually just met this summer over Facebook and some of the wrestling groups, he introduced me to some guys out in South Carolina. And as you know, I'm out in Utah, and I don't have a lot of contact. I don't see a lot of wrestling in South Carolina. And so I was real excited when he said we had this chance to talk with some guys from South Carolina to see what they're doing out there to build wrestling and the positives that are going on and what things they want to see improved. So if you're listening to this from South Carolina, pay real close attention. We're going to provide some great value, some great ideas for you to help build programs and recruit and develop wrestlers out in South Carolina. If you're listening to this from anywhere else in the country, it's also going to be of value to you because you can see what's working and what's not working and take that to your home state. But before we get started, like always, I just want to invite you guys all to go check out highschoolwrestlingmatches.com. That's my website. I created that as a place for people to archive their wrestling matches. There's about over 10,000 matches archived right now, and hopefully we'll get some more on there. So if anybody wants to archive their matches there, I can show you how. It's free, unlike Huddle. And then when your guys can go look at matches from anywhere in the country or 20 years down the road, they can just get online and show their kids and their family their matches. Also, when you go over there, make sure you sign up for the Daily Dose. Up at the top, you'll see a button that says Free Wrestling Moves, or there's a banner on the side. Click on that. Sign up for the Daily Dose. It's a daily email we send out, usually with wrestling technique videos, but sometimes it's news about the podcast, or it might be a great match, different things to provide value that way. But enough said about high school wrestling matches. Let's dive in and talk about South Carolina. I'm going to go through real quick and introduce our guests for the night. We've got Marquise Camp, like wrestling camp. Marquise, how are you doing?
Doing pretty good, man. How about yourself?
Doing great, man. Marquise is a trooper. It's 10 o'clock on the East Coast. It's only 8 o'clock where I'm at, so these guys are staying up a little late on a school night. And Marquise, you're in the middle of football season, you told me. Is that right?
Yes, sir. We just actually had our first game last Friday.
How'd it go?
We won 38-10 against the school I was previously at, so, of course, naturally, that was a pretty good thing.
You were previously there as a coach, or that's where you played?
I coached there.
Awesome, awesome. So you help coach football. You're not the head coach, are you?
Oh, no, God, no.
Okay.
No.
So you coach football, and then you're also the head coach of wrestling, correct?
Yes, sir.
At Westside High School, correct?
Yes, sir.
Tell us a little bit about your experience with Westside. How long you been there? What do you guys got going on?
This will be my first season at Westside. I was actually a late hire. I was previously at Berea High School, but I'm just in a really, really good situation. The admin, the whole athletic department as a whole, the football coach, Coach Early, everybody is very, very, very supportive of the wrestling program and really trying to funnel kids in and just trying to get the program to grow as a whole, and that's a beautiful thing. They've had a lot of success in the past, and they're trying to kind of get back to that same, thing they had going on a couple years ago. And like I say, that place is crawling with athletes. I mean, anybody in the state can probably tell you that. I mean, it's really some true athletes there. Like I said, it's going to take me a little time, but in the end, I think we're going to really build something very, very special there.
That's awesome. You said 5 years? Is that what I heard? You've been there 5 years, was it?
Oh, I've been there like less than 5 months. I just
5 months. You're just barely there.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Hey, that's huge, though, having a supportive football coach. I'm at a building program. I started worst team in the state my first year there, and we're up and coming. But that's something that we need to work on. So as we get into talking about how to build a program, having a good relationship with the football coach really is key. So I was glad to hear you say that.
Oh, yeah, that's huge.
Yep. All right, then we got Jay Collins here. And Jason, you are a South Carolina wrestler originally, correct? But then you've lived out of state for a bit?
Actually, no, I wrestled in Virginia.
Oh, sorry, I'm mixing up my people. That was Joe. But Jason, since I said your name, let's start with you. You wrestled in Virginia, right?
That's correct.
Okay. And when did you come into South Carolina?
Probably about 99. And
What brought
we
you to
got
South Carolina?
a club back in, I want to say it was 2011, 2012. And
Is
just
that
kind
when
of that ever since.
is that when Jet started? Was 2011ish?
Oh no, Jet been around for a long time.
Okay.
So
And you're
I kind of got involved with some guys and you know, a first class bunch of guys, and they asked me to help, so I just kind of help out.
okay. Cool. So, so Jason, it's a youth program, am I right?
That's correct.
Awesome. Well, we're gonna draw expertise with youth programs as we get into how to build these high school programs. So we've got two head high school wrestling coaches on the line that are both building programs, and we've also got a youth coach, which I think is probably the biggest key is having a good youth coach. So we'll talk about that a little bit later. But Joe, sorry, I mixed up my names. Joe Mavens, you're the head wrestling coach at OW, right?
Correct, correct.
All right, Joe. So tell us a little bit about OW. What's going on there? How long you been there?
OW, I've been there. I've been there 1 year, going on my second year as high school coach, head high school coach. Um, New team. Last year I had about 7 guys to finish. Started off with maybe 15 guys, but majority of the guys that I had were freshmen. So I'm excited about that. You know, time to build with them and see them grow from the freshman year to your senior year. One thing I definitely want to get them more involved in is some freestyle and Greco. You know, when I also wrestled at OW. I'm from Orangeburg, wrestled there, went to college, but um, I started my sophomore year in high school wrestling, but my coach involved us in freestyle and Greco, and I think that's really where I made my gains that allowed me to do well in the state and go off and compete in college.
Absolutely, absolutely. That's where you make up ground is the off season. Okay. We wanted to talk just briefly. We won't spend much time on it because it's not the point of the podcast. But this is our first wrestling podcast since the Olympics. So let's just go through each one of you. Share with me your reactions of the Olympics, highs and lows, the wrestling, of course. Let's start with Marquise.
The highs obviously is Varner. You know, that's
Snyder.
amazing.
Snyder.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
For him just to go, you know, win a national championship and turn around and win a medal in the Olympics like that. I mean, that's amazing. I mean, that's a feat in itself. I mean, that's definitely a positive. Jaden Cox to come out and do what he's done. I mean, you know, Burroughs kind of had a disappointing, you know, Olympics. And the thing I really see, and I've seen a couple people touch on this, you know, international style. I think USA as a team, we kind of go away from what we do and try to adapt our styles to what everybody else does. And, you know, if we go in and do exactly what we do, you know, we wouldn't even really be having this discussion. We'd be talking about how good, you know, we did in the Olympics instead of, you know, a little subpar performance we really had, because I really feel we could have done better. Like I said, once again, you know, you just kind of do what you do and just do your style and just wrestle the way you wrestle, and, you know, never try to adapt to somebody else's style, you know, to try to be able to compete. You should just do what got you there and just go with that.
Yeah, and I do agree. I felt like it was a subpar performance as a whole. Although Snyder, that was awesome that he won it, and it was awesome that Cox was able to get a bronze. But Joe, what was your reaction? What are your feelings on?
You know, definitely, I agree. You know, we could have performed better, but you know, I still, you know, think that those guys still train hard and put their time in. You know, and it's like that sometimes. It's like that sometimes. You know, you train hard, you train well, but when you get to the tournament, sometimes it just doesn't. All the hard work that you put in doesn't really show, doesn't come out. But I think, you know, it's another 4 years into the next Olympics, but I know those guys have a bitter taste in their mouth, and they're going to continue to work hard and be ready and prepare themselves for the next Olympics. But I'm glad we was able to still come away with some medals, with some hardware. So,
Yeah.
you know, hats off to those guys. And, you know, I just would like for high school coaches, you know, club coaches to realize that freestyle and Greco is what we have after collegiate wrestling, you know, so get your kids more involved. That's what we have as wrestling to look forward to. That's our pro sport. So
For sure.
Big on the
For sure.
freestyle and Greco.
Coach Collins, you want to say anything about the Olympics or any reactions you had from any of those matches?
Yeah, I mean, I was disappointed in the coverage. I mean, they could have done a lot better giving it more exposure. I mean, you kind of had to catch up after the fact, and I mean, a lot of times before I even saw the match, I knew who won. I mean, Snyder's phenomenal. Cox is phenomenal. I mean, I was shocked that Burns didn't do no better than he did. But, I mean, I agree. I mean, once wrestling season, as far as folk style's over with, I think it's a big deal to try to get these kids involved in freestyle and Greco, for the future.
For sure. Yeah, Burroughs is a class act. He does such a good job with his social media of making you feel like you know him. I've never met the man personally, but he does such a good job of making you feel like you know him through his social media that when I saw him lose, I was heartbroken, man. I almost cried for him. And then he's such a class act. He comes out and just owns it. He just says, you know what, I underperformed. Didn't make excuses, and I think that's cool. I think kids can learn a lot from that.
Definitely, and still, not taking anything away from him, but hey, look at his record though. He still is the top. I'm gonna say he's the top wrestler that we have in the world. But sometimes it's not your day. And
for sure.
Tournament, but
for sure.
Maybe that is meant to happen for him to continue to keep that drive and come back and down the line, still hopefully 4 years, wrestle again and get another gold.
Awesome. Yeah, he says that's the plan. At least that's what he put on Instagram the other day. Says he's gonna take some time off and then get back on it.
Yeah.
So two matches I just want to point out that might have gone kind of unnoticed from the Olympics. If anybody's got a chance, if you can find the match somewhere, you need to see Molinaro's bronze medal match. Did any of you see that match?
No, I didn't.
Oh, came back because he lost to the guy that made the finals, and he came back and he made the bronze medal match. And he wrestled I actually got to go to the World Championships in Vegas last year, and this Italian guy that he wrestled for bronze won the World Championships a year ago, and he was the number 1 ranked guy going into the Olympics, and then he got upset in the semis and ended up wrestling for bronze. But if you want to show your kids an example of leaving it all on the mat, Molinaro versus this Italian, I don't remember his name, is an amazing match to watch. So go find United World Wrestling online or check out NBCOlympics.com and see if you can find Molinaro's bronze medal match.
Okay.
He was 65 kilos. Is that his weight? I'm pretty sure it's 65 kilos. Someone can correct me if I'm wrong. But that's a great match. And then another one is Cox's semifinals. Okay, Cox should have made the semifinals. Did you guys see that match?
I did.
Yeah.
He should have made the semifinals, but it was, in my opinion, it was a coaching error. And so there's a lesson to coaches and wrestlers to be aware of what's happening in the match. What happened is it was 1-1 with just over a minute left, and he was the last one to score. So he thought he had criteria. He thought that if it ended in a tie, he won based on the criteria that he scored last. And he wrestled for a minute straight as if he had it won. And then right in the last 10 seconds, the coaches chimed at him that he needed to score, and he scored 1 second after the buzzer rang. And he ended up losing because the actual criteria before the most recent move is cautions or passivity calls in freestyle. So he had 2 passivity calls. The other guy only had 1. And so because he had 2, he lost the match. And he was wrestling as if he had won the match as opposed to getting after it. And so that's just a lesson. And I'm pretty sure it was a coaching mistake. I think they were yelling like as if he had it, or if they did know he had lost, they needed to communicate better with him what to do. And that's why he lost. It was a bummer to see him lose like that. But then he wrestled great for third and got a bronze. So.
Wow.
Anyways, just know the rules, and that comes back to what you guys had said earlier about making sure you're doing your freestyle and Greco so you understand those international rules. But that's not the main purpose of the podcast tonight. We really wanted to talk about South Carolina wrestling. Let's start with the positive things of what's going on. Joe, I'm going to start with you because we had a chance to talk a little bit before. What are some of the positive things you saw happen this summer in South Carolina and some positive things you see happening now?
Positive things I've seen, of course, like I said, this is going on my second year back in South Carolina. Since I've been back, I was able to be involved with South Carolina USA Wrestling. We were able to take 5 wrestlers to Fargo, North Dakota. 3 guys and two ladies, 2 girls. And I enjoyed working with the guys doing training camps and all, and we were able to go up and come back with 2 All-Americans. Also wish we had a little bit more, but I'm glad we still had some guys to represent South Carolina and compete in freestyle and Greco. So that has been, probably one of the highlights of my first year in South Carolina being involved with wrestling.
So this is your first year being involved in the national scene in the USA South Carolina.
National scene and coaching scene in South Carolina.
Cool. And that's a great percentage. For those that have never gone or have never followed Fargo, toughest high school tournament in America. And people say it's one of the toughest, but I really think it's the toughest. I think it's the one that more people really get up for than any other one. There's over a dozen tournaments that are called national championships, but I think Fargo, in most people's eyes, is considered the legitimate national championship for the high school level. And you'll see guys back there wrestle 11 matches sometimes and still not win a medal, still not place top 8 to be All-American. So the fact that you guys took 3 back and 2 of them placed is a ridiculous percentage, 2/3. And so either you handpicked your only 2 studs, or you guys are just doing something right with those 3 guys. So.
Well, hey, no credit to me. I kind of came in on the tail end, but I'm definitely gonna be a lot more involved in this year to come and years to come with it.
That's great. Yep. Yeah, you need a few guys that can place every year back there to put you in the top 10, and then after that you need numbers, and numbers probably come first because from the numbers you find those handful of guys that will place. So.
Got you.
All right, I'm gonna jump over to Jason real quick. Jason, you are a youth coach. What positive things have you got going on in your youth program, and or positive things you're seeing happening in youth wrestling in South Carolina in general?
Well, I think probably the most positive thing is participation. I mean, in the last year or 2, it seems like we've gotten a lot more kids involved, especially in our neck of the woods, in our county. I mean, we went from having maybe 20.
What county are you in? We didn't mention that earlier. Let the people know.
Okay.
Say that again.
Oconee County.
Okay. Oconee. Am I saying it right?
That's right.
Okay. Yeah. You got to forgive me. South Carolina is one of the few states I've never been to, so if I say the county's wrong, I apologize. Go ahead.
But we had probably 20 kids maybe, 3 years ago, and then last year we had over 50 kids, and then this year we had over 50 kids, and towards the end of the season, we still probably had 20, 25 kids that were still willing to wrestle, and then when the folk style season ended, a lot of them stuck around to do freestyle and Greco. So, I mean, it's getting there. I think the thing is getting the word out into the elementary schools and to some of the 6th graders and get them involved and show them what it's about and teach them something and get them excited about it so that they know, there's something out there that they can do that's not defined by fall sports or spring sports, something that kind of runs, a good long period.
That's cool. So you caught my attention because my youth program has about 20. What did you do between the one season where you had 20 and the season you jumped clear over 50? What did you do to change that?
Well, I got lucky. I got a little bit of inside help. My wife does a lot of substituting at the elementary schools. So she went and talked to the principals of the schools and got permission from the school district as well to carry flyers for the club into the schools and send them to the classrooms. So we actually got flyers to every child in like 6 or 7 different elementary schools in the county, and we drew really good numbers out of them.
That's awesome. So that's a great takeaway, guys. If you're building a club, any of our listeners, and you want to get numbers up, you got to go talk to the principals of the elementary schools and get those going. When you say youth, what are you talking? 4 years old through 8th grade?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, up until high school, basically.
Oh yeah, and the high school guys are involved. I mean, we've got some high school guys that come out and help do some training and use some technique here and there. It gives the kids somebody to look up to that's closer to their own age. Gets them a little bit excited about it. We try to encourage our kids to go to the high school matches that are close and around. I mean, it's a really good situation to be in.
Cool. And that's called Jet Wrestling, right?
That's correct.
How does somebody get some information about that if they want to come check out your program?
If they could just hit me up on Facebook, I can get them everything they need.
Okay, it's Jason Collins. You mind spelling it for everybody so they can find you on Facebook?
It's Jason, and my last name is Collins, Collins.
Okay.
We also have a Facebook page that is Jet Wrestling.
And is it Jet just like it sounds, like a jet, like an airplane?
Right, and it's all capitals, Jet.
Okay, awesome. All right, I want to jump over to Marquise. Marquise, what positives do you see in, well, you can talk about either of the two things we've just talked about. What positives do you see happening either in your own program or South Carolina, and or talk to me about what you're doing to build your youth program, because I know you just got started there.
One of the biggest positives, and Joseph and Jason already touched on it, is the youth wrestling. The numbers have grown tremendously. I mean, I follow Jason on Facebook, and, just the stuff they're doing just with the youth programs through the Skyway in South Carolina and doing all these rookie tournaments and stuff. And it's getting, the kids used to competing, and the rookie tournaments are a good thing because, the kid that's been wrestling for a little while is going to wrestle another kid that's only been wrestling for a little while. So it kind of keeps the competition fair. And they actually do it all the way up to like a rookie state tournament and stuff. So, like I said, this gets kids acclimated to, being able to compete and wrestle. And, that's one of the biggest things going forward. We definitely got the ball rolling on that. And that's where we're going to end up, making a splash, I think, back on the national scene because, we had a national runner-up this year in T.J. Dudley from University of Nebraska. We've always had pretty good success on the Division II level with guys, and now we're kind of making those on the Division I level. So, I mean, that's a good thing. We definitely headed in the right direction. We kind of, a little ways behind, good states like Georgia because they do an awesome job in Georgia with USA Wrestling. And, I mean, that's just, I really feel and truly believe, that's where it's going to start at. I know a lot of guys, a couple people around in the state probably don't feel the same way, we probably do about freestyle and Greco, but that's where it starts, You got to do that because, honestly, me wrestling freestyle and Greco in high school helped me a whole lot, It helped me kind of learn your body, and it's just, like I said, it's mat time. You get an experience, you get that whole summer of wrestling behind you, that's a whole year experience right there. Win, lose, or draw, you're still getting better, you're training, you're getting ready for the fall. And like Joe said, we don't have professional level in wrestling. It's like USA Wrestling is it. So, I know a lot of people, again, don't really, care for it. But at the end of the day, that's what we have left. So that's what you're going to either do or you're going to end up being a coach somewhere. I mean, one of the two. But, I mean, as a state, we're really growing, and that's a beautiful thing. Like I said, we still got a little ways to go. But, people getting involved, doing the right things, and kind of helping each other contribute and doing the right stuff, we're going to continue to grow. Like I said, I just came to West Side. I was previously at Berea, and I kind of feel like I was in a situation, kind of not so much so at West Side like I was in the Berea because when I first came into Berea, they hadn't had a wrestling program for a couple years. Things were kind of down. I remember going to that first summer practice, we had like 3 kids show up. I was like, man, what have I done? What have I done? What have I got myself into, man? This is getting ready to be bad. But, it's just word of mouth. You got to beat the halls, go around. A lot of kids don't know nothing about wrestling.
Are you teaching? So are you in the halls all day, or?
Oh, yeah, I'm in the halls all day long, and I'm talking, just going around, just challenging kids. And, you kind of, I go, you go after everybody. I tell anybody, blind, cripple, crazy, don't matter. You can come in there, you can wrestle, you can be able to compete because, I mean, it's all about weight classes. And it's getting guys in the room, just kind of getting them hooked. You got to kind of grow the interest because wrestling is one of those things, as we all know, either you love it or you hate it. You know, it's really not no in between. You know, it's a culture, it's a lifestyle. And, you know, it takes a special person to become a wrestler. I mean, it's not for everybody. But, you know, just going after those kids and just, you know, kind of challenging them and getting them in there. That first year, I think we might have ended up having about 30 kids, you know, kind of finish it out. And we kind of evened that out for the most part all over the years. And they ended up having 2 state champions in the 4 years over there. Both of them. One of them, 95, that won it last year. It was his second year ever wrestling. He won state. Probably should have won it this year. Kind of, you know, did some different things in the finals. And my 38, actually, and they kind of flip-flop spots. He got a runner-up last year, and he actually ended up winning it this year. And, you know, that was a good thing. You know, that's relaying that foundation. And, you know, I'm planning on going in the West Side doing that, because that place is athletes. There's a lot of good things going on in the athletic programs there as a general strength and conditioning program. You know, it's just getting support. You know, you get the community behind you, you get the school behind you, you get admin behind you. You know, you can't go wrong. You know, you just got to kind of stay the course and just keep pounding away, because, you know, nothing's going to happen overnight. You can't expect, you know, instant success. I think that's what a lot of kids, you know, go into wrestling like, oh, yeah, I'm just going to automatically win. I was like, man, you got to take some butt whoopers before you start giving them out. And, you know, kids, it takes a special kid to kind of learn that. But, you know, most kids adapt to it, and, you know, they're all in. And, you know, it's a good thing. You know, I'm happy where I'm at now. You know, I was happy at Berea. You know, just getting athletes out and just getting kids to do it, because, you know, as we all know, you know, wrestling all has a special part in all our lives, you know, and it helps change you. It just helps grow you into a better person, better man, you know, teaches you more responsibility and stuff. I mean, like I said, it's the toughest sport around. And, yeah.
Awesome.
Hey, kind of just want
Joe,
to jump back in real quick. You know, he brought up something, but thinking about freestyle and Greco and competing on the national level. Definitely, for one, it's a good way to, you know, get your kids more exposure. You know, see what other states are doing, how other kids are wrestling outside of South Carolina. You know, but then also going to Fargo. You know, that's another way for kids who want to go to college and wrestle. You know, to get seen by college coaches. You know, to open up more options for college and possibly scholarship and all. You know, another positive thing about South Carolina, I feel like we have quite a bit of college programs that have wrestling within the past couple of years. So I mean, we have the resources here. Like I said, you know, I know most of the college coaches would like to reach out to high school and get them more involved in doing camps and little clinics. And you know, I've even talked to coaches. Hey Joe, when you're ready, you know, I'll come and do a clinic for you at your high school. So I feel like definitely South Carolina is moving in the right way. And like I said, we have college coaches that want to invest their time in South Carolina also.
that's huge. That's huge having college coaches. We only have one college program in Utah, and we have a lot of All-Americans every year.
Okay.
And so they're all either, you know, our best kids usually will end up at our one college, but they only have a handful of scholarships, and so the next tier guys all end up all over the country. You know, we got a guy in Missouri this year, Duke, all over the place, Wyoming.
Nice.
And so that's huge that you guys have multiple college programs. So that's something you can draw from, help kids see that there is an opportunity to wrestle college and to even pay for their tuition that way.
Definitely.
So what are you guys, do you see yourself, Joe, being involved in USA Wrestling this next year? Are you going to be involved on like a building level, or are you just focusing on your own team, or what do you see your role being?
No, I definitely see myself being involved. Not 100% sure, but there were talks about. So our head coach, the coach high school, I'm sorry, the freestyle and Greco coach that we had this previous year, he left. He moved to another job. He moved to North Carolina, so he's out of the state. So they are kind of looking for a new coach, and they kind of presented it to me. So if I'm not the head coach, I still would definitely be involved with freestyle and Greco with this upcoming year.
Awesome. Well, let me share a couple things that we're doing out here in Utah with you guys. Some things you guys might already be doing in South Carolina. Others might be helpful ideas. I don't know. But and shoot any questions from this. But we in Utah, we had our numbers back in the Kel Sanderson days. Everybody knows Kel Sanderson. He's the biggest name from Utah wrestling. And back in his days, he was 2 years older than me. So back in like my high school time, our numbers were huge. His dad basically built Utah wrestling, or started Utah wrestling in that direction, and then a bunch of other good coaches got on board and really big. So in the late 90s, early 2000s, Utah wrestling was really big. Lots of wrestlers. Then our number dropped for a few years, and in the last few years, USA Utah brought on a guy named Jeff Newby and another guy named Craig Lamont, who Craig Lamont's son is wrestling in Junior World in December, and he also just won Fargo in Greco this last July. So they got involved a few years ago, and they really started building the numbers. And a couple things that they did that I've really liked that might be helpful is, one, they have made a strong social media presence, which it sounds like you guys already started doing. So like when they were back in Fargo, you could only actually see those matches if you paid money for Flow Pro, but they were Facebook streaming all of our All-Americans matches on Facebook. And so us back home, we were able to follow those guys, and that creates a good buzz, social media, using that positively. Another thing that they've done is they created the tournaments, the weekend tournaments, Friday, Saturday, doing Greco and stuff. Those were always so hard when I was growing up that only your diehard wrestlers would actually do it, because it took your entire weekend, every weekend, right after you finished high school season. So parents didn't like it. They didn't like sitting around just to wait for their kids wrestle. And maybe every state in the country is doing this now, but to me it was a novel idea that they started a few years ago. So instead of having to wait all day for everybody to wrestle, and then you wrestle again, and then you wait all day for everybody to wrestle, and then you wrestle again, and so on through the tournament, what they do now, with the exception of our state tournament, and that's our qualifier to make the national team to go to Fargo, with the exception of the state tournament, every tournament is just kind of looked at as practice. And so it doesn't matter what you weigh, they just pair you up with 4 guys that are as close to your weight as possible. So they make custom brackets based on what everybody weighs, and they let everybody weigh in. So it's kind of the honor system, but nobody really abuses it that I'm aware of. And they weigh in at their club, so you don't have to go to the tournament to weigh in. Thursday night, you at your club for Freestyle and Greco, you do your weigh-in. And then Friday night, they wrestle Greco, and then Saturday they wrestle freestyle and folk style to get some folk style matches. But the way they do it is they set up like a 2-hour block for your age group. So your novices, they'll go for a certain 2 hours, and they'll wrestle 4 matches in like an hour and a half. And they get exhausted, but the parents love it because they're in and out of there. They get sorry, it's 3 matches because it's a group of 4. They get 3 matches in like an hour and a half, and then the parents can go home and actually have a Saturday or a Friday night. And then if you're wrestling multiple styles, then as soon as that tournament ends, they start the next style. So Friday night's just Greco. We crank out all the Greco matches. That tends to have the lowest participation. And then the next day is folk style and freestyle. And if you're wrestling both styles, you're there for 3 hours only, and at the end of 3 hours, you've wrestled 6 times. So you're getting about a season and a half of high school wrestling mat time with the number of matches you're getting in way less hours than you're spending at tournaments in high school. Does that make sense? Have you guys tried anything like that?
Oh man, that's amazing.
Yeah, it is. No, I don't think we have, but definitely. I mean, I'm sure parents would love that more. You know, like I said, have more of the weekend, still get some wrestling in, but still having that time to enjoy your family time on the weekend.
Yep. And track wrestling makes it so easy to manage creative tournaments like that. So if you host your tournaments on track wrestling, then you can collect everybody's money for the tournament on there. You can organize those customized weight classes, and at the Utah ones, they give every kid a medal at those things. Okay. You get a bronze. Every kid gets a medal, or maybe it's only the top 3, so maybe one kid goes home without a medal. I don't know, but they give out at least 3 medals at each of those, and then everybody just looks at it as practice. And then when state rolls around, you got to get on your weight you plan on competing in Fargo at, and you got to be ready to try to win a state title, and and then that's fun because you get some good matches there and things like that. So that's kind of what we're doing there. And then the last thing that they've done are a couple things to kind of make it more accessible, and this is probably more USA Wrestling Nationals doing, but we've been taking advantage of it because I work at a Title I school, which means that we have a huge number of people on free and reduced lunch, which means we're low income. And so we have kids that to pay $12 for a tournament on the weekend is super difficult for them. And to buy a $40 USA card is super difficult. So two things we've started doing that have helped with that is one, and this is good for the youth program, and I assume it's the same in South Carolina, but the folk style season for the youth that runs during the high school season, that season a USA card is only $15 instead of $40, but it doesn't include freestyle and Greco. Is that how it works out there, Jason?
Actually, it's like $17 for the folk style card for the season during the high school season.
Okay, that's probably the same here.
And then the USA card to wrestle freestyle and Greco during the summer is $35. And you know,
do you know if
we try to help kids?
Sorry, I cut you off.
But you know, it is what it is.
Yeah. Yeah, but having that card for $17 for the folk style season has been huge out here in Utah because we get way bigger numbers during the folk style season. So something I'm doing this year for the first time, I've always only ran my youth season during freestyle because I haven't had enough help. I finally have enough help this year to do it during the folk style season, and that will increase numbers because kids that wrestling's not their life, they have baseball that starts in the spring, and in the fall they have football. So winter during wrestling is where we get the biggest numbers. We get probably 3 times as many kids wrestling folk style during the winter than we get in the spring. Would you say you're just?
Yeah, I get a lot in the winter through the winter months, November, December, January, February. We have a lot of kids, and then towards the end of the season, after the state tournaments and all the rookie states and all that kind of stuff, it kind of slows down going into Greco. It really, it's the kids that really have a passion for it and that really go on the Greco and the style and wrestle during the summer. Cool.
And so yeah, so push your clubs to do stuff during the winter season, the USA folk style season, for your youth, because even though it's kind of a pain in the butt to even think about that during your high school seasons, but find partners to do that because the numbers are way bigger. And then one other thing USA started doing 2 years ago that I've taken advantage of, and you may have to contact your state representative to figure this out, but they have a club membership price that you can do. You can pay $300. A high school team can. It's got to be a high school team. A high school team can pay $300. That gets your USA charter, which gets you the membership and the insurance through USA Wrestling, and then it gets every kid on your high school roster a USA Wrestling card. So we take advantage of that because of our population and the income level brackets that they're in. And because if I was to pay $80 to charter my club, then I'm only paying an additional $220 to get everybody a card. And so if like 5 to 8 kids take advantage of that card, I just saved a ton of money, and I got all my kids access to the USA tournaments for the year. Plus they get the USA Wrestling magazine every month, which keeps them motivated, keeps them connected to the sport.
Gotcha.
So that's something you might want to look into through your USA Wrestling representative. Might be able to get you set up on that. So.
Okay.
All right, guys. Well, we usually keep these about a half hour. We're at about 40 minutes right now. Anything else you guys want to talk about, or any last-minute advice you want to give to guys that are wanting to build their programs in South Carolina?
I would say connect with your kids. Make sure you build that bond with the kids, because ultimately, if they don't have a good relationship with their coach, they're not going to come back.
Amen, Jason. And Joe, go ahead. Marquise will give you the last word.
All right, I just want to say I definitely enjoyed this. If there's any other coaches out there, hey coaches, I would like to say, man, let's just get together, let's talk a little bit more. Let's put our heads together to continue to help South Carolina grow as a state in wrestling, and also with freestyle and Greco, man. Like I said, I started wrestling in high school as a sophomore. I think, but most of my success or with me getting better is because I continue to wrestle during the summer. I got involved in freestyle and Greco. And I just like to see, since I'm from South Carolina, like I said, I also traveling, wrestling in college. Went to Lassen Community College, Fresno State, and then I finished my career at UNC Pembroke in North Carolina. I think it had a big freestyle and Greco had a big impact on my life. So I just want to come back and push that and like I say, help wrestling grow in South Carolina.
Sweet, thanks. And Marquise.
Just pretty much what those guys are saying. Let's just keep pounding the ground, guys. Very thankful, to be able to do this. Very thankful for all the coaches in South Carolina. Just keep doing what we're doing, man. Let's just keep this thing growing, and let's just get these kids out, get them competing, get these youth clubs going, and just like I said, wrestling as a culture, and I'm gonna keep doing it. And kind of back to what Jason said, coaching is spelled with love. Kids gotta trust you. Kids trust you, they believe in you, and they see what you're doing is actually, something they can benefit from, and that you're really for them, and they'll do anything in the world for you. That's where it starts. Building that relationship. You have to connect with your kids. Get your kids to trust. Kids talk. They tell another friend tells another friend. Then boom, you got something special going on.
Awesome. Great advice, guys. It's been a pleasure having you on. We'll have you back soon. And let's get some more podcasts coming from South Carolina. Sound good?
Awesome. I appreciate you taking the time to listen and talking with us.
Anytime. All right, wrestling fans, that's it for our first ever South Carolina wrestling podcast. Again, I'm Kurt Clapier with highschoolwrestlingmatches.com. If any of you listening to this want to get involved with a podcast, if you've got an idea for a great podcast for wrestlers, or if you want to talk about what's going on in your local community wrestling, reach out to me via Facebook or send me an email at highschoolwrestlingmatches.com, and we'll set something up. But that's it for tonight. If you want to tune in tomorrow night at 6 o'clock Mountain Time, so 8 o'clock Eastern, we'll be doing a Utah wrestling podcast talking about our fall league, what we're doing in the fall to keep kids active. So we'll talk to you then, and have a good night.